All right. Welcome, everybody. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, DLive, Trevo, LinkedIn Live, maybe, some various Facebook pages, 10 different places, if it's all going together as we thought. In the past, we've been using Zoom to get together. Well, we're just going to put Zoom to the side and we're going to test drive Restream full throttle. So if you've got the link to get on, go ahead and get straight on to Restream. And I believe I can put that up here. Here's the big long Restream link. If you could just hop on there, then we can see you. If you're in the room now and you have video, awesome. Turn that camera on. We'd love to see you. But if not, you can hang out like that. You should be able to just jump in at any time whenever you want to. We're going to give everybody a few minutes to kind of just see who's coming on, that kind of thing. Before we kind of talk amongst ourselves. I just thought to get us started, I would just share some scientific discoveries that we may have missed during this strange year of 2020. This is from National Geographic. It's 10 awesome scientific discoveries you may have missed in 2020. This year has produced an unprecedented news frenzy. As the deadly coronavirus pandemic raged around the world, lives were uprooted. Readers eagerly anticipated every bit of progress towards a vaccine. The killing of George Floyd sparked nationwide protest against police brutality and systematic racism. Wildfires rampaged across North America, including 5 of the 6 largest fires in California since 1932. And hurricanes tore through coastal cities, with so many forming that scientists ran out of names for all the storms. In the final few months of 2020, a historical divisive election dominated the headlines. Yet amongst these pivotal events were an array of scientific discoveries that slipped under the radar. 2020 comes to a close, we look back at 10 significant developments that you might have missed. The first one was the oldest material found on Earth is more ancient than our solar system. Billions of years before our sun winked into existence, a dying star flung dust out into space. Now a bit of that stardust, trapped in a meteorite that collided with Earth, was dated as the oldest material yet found on our planet. The dust coalesced with other rocks inside what would become the Murchkin meteorite, which lit up skies over Australia in September of 1969 as it careened into the surface of our planet. A fresh analysis of these ancient rocks found grains of stardust that are between 4.6 billion years and roughly 7 billion years old. Scientists estimate that these early dust pieces lurked only in about 5% of meteorites. But that hasn't discouraged them from continuing to hunt for these clues to our galaxy's history. All right. Number 2, the first Tyrannosaurus embryos are discovered. I'm going to let you ponder on that one. Check on our live stream here. And if I'm going to read more of these, I'm definitely going to need my glasses. So if you'll excuse me a moment, I'm going to run and go get those. And I do see more coming on. I tell you what, hey, I have a sweetheart. I need your help. Could you go back to my bathroom and my glasses are right over my sink? Awesome. That'll work. Thank you. Thank you, sweetie.
That's funny.
So, since I can't read a darn thing because I don't have my glasses, April, can you tell us about this new computer that how did that work out with you?
I bought a Lenovo, I think that's how it's pronounced, and it's the first new computer I've had probably in 12 years because my first one broke and stuff. So anyways, I'm excited because now I can start working on this book that I've been toying with and some articles and stuff like that.
What kind of book are you? What are you writing?
It's so
What kind? Thank you, Jonathan. What kind of book will you have up your sleeve?
A book about my dad.
About what? Uh-oh. Froze
about
for
my
a second.
dad through the Burleson heritage publishing. About my dad, who was Paul Burleson, and hopefully
and I think that something is, and JD and you or JD encouraged you.
Me, how can I sit down?
JD encouraged you a bit in that direction. Is that how that worked? Uh-oh. April's. Hi, Mary. Let's see. Is your mic on? She's working on it. I'm trying to get our Christmas thing off the screen there. It's daunting us there. Hey, wonderful. Oh, okay. There we go. If you're live on Facebook or YouTube, use that restream code down on the bottom and see if you can join us in the room here. We started this particular live stream to talk about DNA a little bit, and the main conversation, I want to just let everybody know, Dr. Cisco, they're still getting in some more DNA results, and they're not quite ready to share those results or to have this big conversation. Another thing, that there was lots of different Burlesons that had been working on the DNA studies, and not all of them can get together on today. So they wanted to postpone it a little bit. So we're going to postpone it, but we're just going to go ahead and with our live stream, like we said we were going to do, and have it anyway on New Year's Day. What'd you guys do last night for the new year? April, what'd you do? April might be froze. I'm not sure. Looks a little froze. Hey, Mary.
Hey.
Hey, what'd you do on New Year's Day? Last night.
I was in Houston with my 91-year-old mother-in-law last night, and we had some apple cider, sparkling, of course, and I watched the fireworks from the 17th floor of a high-rise and got to see, golly, fireworks like I've never seen before. And that's it. I'm back home today at the ranch.
Awesome, awesome. And that's a Texas ranch, is that right?
That's correct. Stranger, Texas.
That's right. We we've got ranches out here in Nevada also.
And it's cold here.
It is. It's cold in
Yes.
Texas.
We had a heck of a storm, and west of us they have snow right now. I-10 going west across Texas was closed as you got out near El Paso and everything. So
Ah,
it's not normal.
yeah.
So how many people are on?
Well, it's a good question. We're live on about 10 different platforms right now. YouTube and
Oh,
Facebook and a lot, and some I haven't heard of, D Live and Trevo and different ones like that. But we're really just testing out this software. We did away with Zoom this call, and we're just going straight in. So we're trying to get some of the people that are watching live to jump on here with us in the room itself, which is a Restream room, Restream is what's sending us out live. Have you been watching live streams, just various live streams on YouTube and any of that?
no, a lot of Zoom, but that's about it.
Yeah.
We used another platform out of Texas A&M one day, but I don't even remember what that was. And basically everything that I was involved in just shut down.
Yeah. Well, we're actually going strong today. Let me let April back in. There she is.
Hey, April.
April, with her. Can you hear us? I know she's good. April, you're on. April? I'm going to give her just a few minutes.
Well, my deal today was that I didn't get the email, so Amy reminded me, and then I couldn't do the link wouldn't work. But when she sent me just the link, then I got on, or I would have missed y'all today, and I don't want to miss this.
Awesome. Paul Cisco was going to be here, but he said that they're not quite ready to talk about the findings. They're waiting on a couple of Burleson males, their DNA results to come in. I think they've been waiting for a while, like since the middle of, I think they said August maybe. So they're still in the waiting mode on that, and they just kind of they wanted to share that. Also, Denise and Paula had a lot to add to the discussion on DNA, and they want to talk about DNA, but they couldn't today. So we postponed that discussion until we can get those key contributors in for a talk specifically about DNA. So it's coming, but today is just an informal test run of Restream, and also just a holiday get together, because that's what we've been doing since Thanksgiving. It's just getting together on the holidays. I've been looking at a lot of Restreams just to kind of see, what's out there and what people are doing. And it's real loosey-goosey and informal. Last night I watched The Makeover Guy. I think he's in Missouri, or maybe in a state that starts with an M up north. But he's pretty good. Anyway, I watched him eat popcorn on his sofa last night, trying to recall different TV sitcoms from the 50s and 60s. And he was singing them to us as we could, or as he could remember them. And, people are just live streaming, anything. It's a new bells and whistles, and people are just enjoying getting on. So I personally like to have, a format, a subject, and something that we're talking about. And that is shadowing with DNA, but because the contributors really want to, wait till they have all their research in, we're going to postpone it, and when we can all get together. So that's coming when when everybody's ready. So we're just loosey-goosey today. Another live stream that I saw was just the streets of New York. Somebody had apparently turned their live stream camera out their window in New York. It was awesome, just like we were there. I used to live in New York and had my son there, as a matter of fact. But what was so haunting, though, was the streets were so desolate. There was nobody on the streets of New York last night. So that was nice. And I think it was like 17,000 people on the live stream just watching nothing going on in New York last night, the one that I was on. So, there's a power in live streaming. There's Amy. Hey, April, are you, how's everything working out for you?
Amy's sideways.
Can you hear me?
Oh, I got her. I think maybe April might be a little frozen, maybe. But she's gonna go. I'm gonna leave her on there. Hey, Amy.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
Good, and y'all?
Good. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to y'all too.
What'd you do last night?
Nothing.
Join the club.
Nothing. It was quite peaceful.
Now you're also in Texas, right?
Yes, particularly it's Austin.
Did y'all have snow?
No, but where my parents are in Kingsland, Texas, they did.
We had over 10 inches of rain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the ranch road and pastures and everything was flooded. So I was stuck in Houston.
Wow.
And I got up this morning and drove in. So
Not good. I was sick of the rain. It rained 2 days straight, basically.
Well, I'm glad to be back in Central Texas.
Well, heck yeah, me too. Yep. When I go to the hill country, I'm like, I'm ready to go back home.
Well,
for sure.
Being in Houston and all of a sudden everybody decided to go out. And where we are, we don't worry about COVID. There's nobody here but us and the cows.
Right.
And there, everybody's got matching mask and everything. So
right. Houston is really bad. It's worse than Austin. That's
yes.
what they said. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And we live in Pflugerville, and the cases here outbeat Austin. We're in the purple zone, so stage 5. So. Mm-hmm.
You're sideways, Amy.
How? Maybe from hold on, let me see.
Now you're upside down.
Okay.
Oh, that's good. Oh, well, you look good to us.
It's nice to see you.
Good to see y'all.
So are we right side up?
Yeah, everybody looks good. Yeah. Amy's real close. Amy's like this.
Down.
Like this.
Well, I have my phone.
Oh, they told me that. Are you on Facebook or are you on live studio?
Facebook should be.
Oh, okay. Live studio said that they were not stable on a cell phone and to get off.
Oh, yeah.
So, Amy, you got into the room here from Facebook?
Yeah. Yep.
You didn't try Restream? You're on Restream.
I don't.
You're on live with us.
I did earlier, but I'm not for certain. I ended up putting a code in, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, you did. You did good. Are you doing live streaming, April, with other things? I mean, Amy, with other things?
No.
Huh? Are you doing so? There's April. April did. She texted me, and she's having a little bit of time with the connection. She says she keeps getting a service connection error error. So she's trying. So she comes in. She's gonna come in and out with and freezing and
Yeah, but
trying to
then
get
I'm gonna have to hook up the.
more time in. So she's coming in and out. There we go. Okay.
Wave,
Well,
Ross.
Cool.
With talking about DNA though, do you, Mary, what's your view on this DNA stuff? Have you had your DNA tested?
I have my husband's DNA. His grandmother was Archie Jane Burleson. And so I have him on Ancestry and on 34andMe, whatever that one is. And I haven't submitted it yet. So every time I start to, I leave town, and I need to get in with the Burleson family group.
Yeah.
But, when you look at the way they do things, I'm matching, his DNA is matching with other Burlesons that are on the Burleson family group. So,
So you have your results, you just haven't loaded up to GEDmatch yet?
I've had them for several years. They're trying to restore my connection, and I'm connected and talking.
Well,
We've had our DNA done what seems like forever when they first started doing it, I think. And I basically, because of the Burlesons, and then trying to get my family back to Germany. So Ross's mother's DNA has been interesting, but it's, of course, his dad, whose mother was a Burleson. So that's where we end up. Back through Arkansas and up to David. And it's been very interesting to have all the information and then do the DNA and have it show up, oh, we were right. So that's been nice.
Yeah. Well, for those who are out listening, and to bring back in the conversation, the long-term conversation, and build on what you've done, it sounds like you've gotten your DNA done years ago, because this DNA self-testing has been out there for several years now. So, and as a result, in is it 2014 or 2016? I can't remember. I read somewhere where genealogy has become the number 2 hobby. And the number 1 was gardening, but number 2 was genealogy, and just with the advent of the DNA testing. And it doesn't matter if your last name's Burleson or whatever your last name is, because there's so much DNA testing, people are looking, to connect and kind of build bigger connections. And we just happen to have a Burleson Family Association in Texas, and also a Burleson Family Research Group in North Carolina. And everyone is linking up and linking in. And there's also a few Facebook groups of Burlesons. Some of them are like mysterious face group groups that aren't really defined, and that's A-okay. It's just people who have hooked up with the last name Burleson and reaching out and making connections that way. But if you've in any of those forums and you want to connect more, then there's the Burleson Family Association with Clarence and Kay. Clarence is the president, and his wife Kay. As a matter of fact, that might be her right now. But anyway, Kay, and knowing Kay, she'll probably have her video on, if that's Kay with the Burleson Family Association. I'm gonna give her a few minutes. But anyway, Mary, it sounds like you've gotten your DNA tested a few years ago, and now you've got the results from your company, and did it have like geographic information that showed you like your roots came from a different continent and stuff like that?
Yeah, with Ross, of course, we went back to England, and that group of Burlesons, of course, came down through Alabama, and from Alabama came to Texas. His branch of the tree got here in 1860. So before that, they were in Alabama. They're not sons of the Republic of Texas, but Ross's dad is, when you look at pictures of him and look at pictures of Ed Burleson, they look alike. And I've sent pictures to people and they'd say, how did you get this picture of Dewey in a costume? Well, it's not Dewey, it is Ed Burleson. They are the Burlesons with the long face and the big nose. And so it's kind of interesting to think that cousins that far back pop up now, literally looking alike. So it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
Ross's aunt was Opalie Strickland, and she literally drove all over the United States. They spent months in Utah, and they wrote letters, and they, I said last time, tore pictures out of phone books and looked for family members. And it was very important to her. And so I've been able to clean up some of the family stories and find some of the relatives. And of course, in Texas, Burleson's a big name.
Mm-hmm.
So, you've got towns and counties and people, and the Baylor University and churches, and it's a great history.
Mm-hmm.
So where is everybody?
Well, they're live streaming they're on the live stream. And
But we can't hear them and we can't see them.
Right, yeah. Now, if you are on the live stream, let me check over there. You can also comment.
I can see Kay's question about COVID vaccine, but I couldn't answer her.
Anyone have a COVID vaccine yet? From Kay. No. How about you, Mary?
No.
Hmm?
My mother-in-law got it this week. She's 91, and the doctor said yes. And I have adverse reverse drug reactions. I won't be taking it. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, you all remember Bob Quillage, Dr. Quillage from our previous streams. He sent me something right before here, asking right before. He sent me something within the last few days. I just saw it an hour or so ago about the tiers of the vaccine and how what the plan is. I asked him if he wanted to jump on and tell us about it real quick. So if he comes on, I hope not, he might tell us about it. But he's got a breakdown of the tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and tier 4. Luckily, I'm in the tier 4, which is the healthy adults, which between 18 and 64. So we go last with the vaccine. And so I'm good with that. I feel like lots of people are going to go before us, and we're good. We've been home, yeah, forever. And so yeah, this is home. We've had the green screen up for all the others, so I missed the green screen. The green screen's over there on the floor. But with Restream, we can't use the green screen. So welcome to our home. But yeah, lots of people are going to be going before us on the vaccine thing. Let's see what else we have. No idea how to show my side. I see you and the others.
I guess the Facebook people can see the Facebook people.
Yeah. So we're Kay, you did were able to pop in for a few minutes, but it didn't show video or anything, but I could see you in the room. I mean, here with us on Restream.
And we lost Amy.
Yeah, well, she's sitting back on her sofa on Facebook watching us.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, that's what it is. All right, so Mary, you said you got your DNA tested, and that was a couple of years ago. So you haven't loaded your information. Have you got your raw data yet?
no, I haven't done that.
So when you get the raw data, that's when it gets loaded up to GEDmatch, and I know Kay said that she could help with that, like help figure out how to put it up into GEDmatch. So anyway, if you or anyone out there listening is at that stage where they want to make stronger connections with their family, and they've found the people who have been doing the research all along, they can help you get your raw data into GEDmatch. And that's where I'm at too. I got my DNA done a couple of years ago with the Healthy Nevada Project, and but when I went to get my raw data, they said it would cost $500 or $600 or something like that, and so I just went to a different company, Ancestry.com, because a lot of the Burlesons had recommended it. That's what they particularly liked or whatever, and so I went with that, and I'm waiting for my new results to come back in. So that's where we're at for that bigger DNA discussion, and it's a long discussion anyway. It lasts. It's not one particular thing. It's an ongoing process, and it takes a long time to get your DNA kit to get here. It takes a few weeks. Then you do your little thing with your DNA kit, like swab or spit or whatever, and then you send it back to the company, and that takes several weeks. And then once you get that, pretty much reach out to somebody else in your family who's already done what they know the research or know what to do with the GEDmatch data. And geez, if you're out there and your family doesn't have that, you don't know who to talk to in your family, reach out to us. We'll try to help you, and get your data uploaded to GEDmatch. And that's when you find out more about or who your connections, cousins and such are. Speaking of cousins, I did meet with April Chester. She's been in and out. She's got an issue with her internet connection right now, but she pops in and pops out. But we did meet for a late breakfast, very long lunch. We were there for a couple of hours. Just had a really good conversation. So it was really good to meet up with a cousin that I did not even know was out here. I thought we were out here in Reno all by ourselves. And our family is from Mississippi. And
Where?
The southern part. So Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Oh, well, I've got relatives there too.
Do you? In Hattiesburg?
Yes. Hattiesburg. My cousin is John Ed White, who is the president of Rexall Drugs, and they live outside of Jackson now. And my ex-husband's family was from Hattiesburg, and they were Thomases and Manghams. So, I mean, we're all connected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, what questions do you have about the DNA studies or DNA topic or anything for some of the experts as they...
One of the interesting things that came out this week was that China is buying up the DNA labs, and their idea is to hop in and see, supposedly, conspiracy theory, if we didn't have COVID, what can they give us? So it's, everybody's worried about DNA studies, and I don't worry about them. I want the information.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, that's definitely, a lot of people are worried and concerned about a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
And, DNA is definitely one of those things that it's weird for, a lot of people. But once you get yours done, you want to know more, and you feel like you're more in control of who you are, your health. You know more about yourself.
Absolutely.
And so once you know more about yourself, the other people, you're not like trying to convince them to do something for you. You don't care as much as the individual was the one who reaps the benefit of knowledge of.
I like the idea that it's stories. And as we connect with people, we find out stories about our own family. And I mean, when you've got a family with 12, 14 kids in it, and you've never seen any of them, it's interesting to connect with them and their children. And there are a lot of people out there that just don't know anything, and I like knowing.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's gone a long way from the days when we were all on Roots Web, chatting back and forth with people.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed that part a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So, especially, I mean, I watch and I look at other states and I see burlesons, and I wonder if they're as crazy about their heritage as we are here in Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Because we are, I took my kids to San Antonio and I said, right here is where Ed Burleson made Santa Anna's brother mad, and he threw him out of the Alamo. And we went to the state cemetery, and they were closing. And I said, we just need to see one grave. And they said, but look how big this place is. I said, oh, well, it's General Burleson. And they said, boys, we'll be here for a while. And they took us to his grave and said, y'all stay as long as you want to. 10 minutes to 5 on a Friday afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
But we said the magic word, Burleson. So it's interesting. I want to talk to everybody else.
You guys use this live stream key at the bottom. Well, not the key, it's the guest code. Use it, come on in and talk with us, or at least send us some comment questions. I'll try to monitor those as we go. But you were talking about the pride in Burlesons and all of that, and that's awesome. Hey, I'm just glad to be one of the many in that regard. It's just me and my son, as far as I know, are new, and it's just nice to be involved in this great bigger sense of community. But what you're saying reminds me of a story I heard on the radio in the car one day. It was probably PR public radio, and it was a young lady, I think from Chicago area, and she had her DNA done. And anyway, she said, maybe she was also from New Orleans area or something, or her all she knew of her family came from the southern states, and there she was, in Chicago or something like that. And she just said, she didn't know her family history or what she knew. She didn't, she just didn't know much about who her family was. But after she got her DNA, she realized that, she could imagine herself as a person from Trinidad, or some of her African heritage that took her back, and it opened up a whole new idea for her to think about herself, like she was just thinking about herself as how she fit into this country or what have you, but started to think of herself as someone from a different continent, and the history that she had in that regard. So it doesn't matter what your last name is or where you think you're from. Just there's tools out there, DNA testing, that can open up your heritage, different continents and different cultures that you may or may not have been aware of. It just opens up your world a great deal. So there's also scientific discoveries going on with DNA, and that's what I'm kind of interested in. The medical side, which is not something that we have been talking about much on, in our conversations that we've been having since Thanksgiving. During the pandemic, when we're getting together virtually like this, we tend to talk about the genealogy part because we have a lot of Burleson researchers that have done a lot of research on genealogy through the years. I mean, they've been doing this for years. And but there's a lot that's going on in the medical field, and that excites me too. I was earlier in the live stream, I was waiting for people to get up, and was reading some of the different awesome scientific discoveries that have taken place in the year. And some of those have been DNA studies. And I promise you, before we leave the live stream, I will tell you what the other 9 were. We only got through 1, but I'll tell you what they are. So more on that to come. But with the scientific discoveries that are going on in DNA, they're able to target for breast cancer and different types of cancer. And it goes straight to the problem. That's exciting. If I had breast cancer, I'm comforted in knowing that there's DNA research you can go in and, it's targetable. It's a huge advance. So, yeah, for all of the fears and uneasiness and conspiracies and weirdness about DNA, there's a whole other side that's just amazing with the different discoveries and such that are going on. So I find that exciting. And I'd want to know more about that. And I don't know if our family genealogists would be the ones to answer those questions, but that's the kind of thing that I'm interested in. And I'm interested in that cross-cultural, identities too. It's nice to know who your relatives are in this country, but I find it interesting to the whole human antiquity story and how, it relates to me, I find that interesting.
I found the medical part from 23andMe to be very interesting because the things that it picked up on, I already knew from my family, and it was absolutely true. And so it's allowed me to avoid a couple of things that I needed to avoid. And that's always good news. Interesting.
Yeah. I've with my medical thing, I drink a lot of coffee, and we kind of always have drank a lot of coffee. We always joked about Burleson's drinking a lot of coffee. My father, tons of coffee. And with my DNA, luckily, I found out that I tolerate coffee and caffeine better than other people, or more. I can drink coffee and it's okay, And another thing was the lactose intolerance part. We always hear ads about this is lactose good or something, or, don't eat dairy or this and that. But because my DNA results came back I'm also very tolerant to dairy. It doesn't bother me. So I don't have to worry about being lactose sensitive because, I got that news from my DNA results, or I would have worried about it. I would have tried to curb my diet in that way, I guess.
So in Mississippi, did you have a large group of Burlesons?
No,
No?
not at all. As a matter of fact, we have an interesting line in Mississippi Burlesons, and I'll mention it now if there's anybody out there listening that's, maybe can identify, but we're very, I would say, a a small strand and a small group. We were, my father's the last male Burleson, and he and his brother had all girls, so it's just girls. And I have questions about that too, because it seems as if, the end of the line, it's the end of the line. And I get that. I understand what they're saying. But, as a woman, I kind of have a lot of questions about why the girls still are going on and still living and still, producing heirs, what, what difference does that make? But apparently there's differences there. So I have questions about that, but what can you say on that one?
Well,
we'll learn if we keep talking. Go ahead.
I think we're connected anyway, because as we have done our family history, my family in Mississippi was, there's a monument on the Choctaw Reservation to my great grandfather, Jeremiah Thompson, who led the renegades at when the Treaty of Dancing Rabbit Creek was broken. His name was White Dancing Rabbit. Well, in 1812, Andy Jackson came down into the Mississippi Territory to settle down my relatives who were leading the renegade. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting to be able to put my family history in the same place with his family history. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's there, it's data. You can't, and you don't need the DNA to do that, but it's happening. So if we got somebody else with us.
Yes, TS. Who TS? Where are you coming in from? Texas, Nevada, North Carolina, different country. Texas.
Texas.
Tracy from Texas.
Where, yeah, Tracy?
We're in Texas. She lives in Texas. Jewett. There. Jewett, yeah. What is this that Amy has? I found mine to be great too for health on 23andMe. I drink coffee and alcohol on occasion, and it affects me. I have always felt when I know I've had too much of something. Alzheimer's doesn't show on mine, but dementia runs in the family. I did my 2. Just a second.
She said, I did my 23andMe, and it shows instead of maternal or paternal, it shows both sides. And Ancestry didn't show that. My brother also looks like the Burlesons. Wish I could see y'all today. We wish we could see you.
All right. Perfect. Well, yeah, I think that the more that we keep talking about DNA, if we, and it's okay to take a break for months and months, and when it's right time to come back together, super great. But I think the more that we keep talking, we're going to find out a lot more about the mother's side of DNA, the mitochondrial DNA. That right now I think we've been talking more about Y DNA, and that's, I don't know, maybe some of us females feel a little left out in that regard. I think maybe if we do have, I don't know, I think that we have a lot left to learn about the mitochondrial DNA or the mother's side DNA that we just hadn't talked about as a group. I think maybe we'll talk in that that regard as we continue. What about other DNA questions? Do you have any other DNA questions for the experts in that regard? Do you know Denise? Does anybody know Denise Shroud?
Tracy Shroud.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
She
But you know
actually
what? I
lives.
think Denise's last name is also Shroud. Am I right? And then Paula is also. Paula and Denise wanted to contribute to the conversation because they've done so much research on all the DNA stuff. So, do you know Paula or Denise? Okay, so a lot of us haven't. We're looking forward to talking with them because we know they've just done um, lots of different research. Interested in hearing what they have to say. Do you have any New Year's resolutions, Mary?
To keep finding ancestors and to clean up my files as every now and then I find something that I have put in incorrectly. I had a great aunt that I put in as her married name, and her relatives were so glad to find her. And then I had to say, oops, my mistake. So I want to make sure that everything's correct.
So
I would,
that's your New Year's resolution is to make sure your research is correct.
yeah, I want to make sure I'm checking things as I go because some of it I absolutely know, and it's so easy to get on Ancestry now and just put stuff.
That's what I hear people, and I think that might be one of Paula's pet peeves too. Is people just build on something, but they haven't fact checked to know that that's true, and they'll just grab a line off of one of these places and just start assuming that that's their line.
I think it's interesting too. People keep putting pictures, and they're not pictures of their relatives, they're pictures of the king at that time. I looked at a picture the other day and I went, that's not somebody, whoever it was, that's Santa Anna. And so, come on, just because they were there at the time or it's the right time period doesn't mean you put it up as your ancestor's photo. Come on, please. So that's kind of irritating me. But
yeah, you know, something else is interesting, a different topic, but builds on the same thing, but it's facial recognition on photos. Now that's yeah. And now see, it makes some people squirmish. I get that. But it's also, you know, you are who you are. And you know, you do a facial recognition. Now this is what's really kind of odd. And I'm open to it. I'll look into it. Oh, I'm not going to remember right now for this conversation what the name of the word is. If somebody wants to tell me, great. But whatever, there's a word for somebody who looks like you, and it's not clone.
doppelganger.
There you go. What is it?
Doppelganger.
There you go. What do you think about that? What is a doppelganger?
I had a competitor at another high school. She was a cheerleader. She was always out. She happened to drive the same car I did, and my mother was always calling the school to see if I was there because we looked alike, and I never met her. But everybody said, oh my gosh, this girl, and I never met the girl. Competition. Because we looked alike. Hey, Kay. Hey, Kay. Oh my gosh, this girl.
Okay, I
Competition.
let me see if I can turn off the phone. My gosh, I have had the most awful time. Restream is not very user friendly, apparently.
Really? Okay, you're here.
I finally
You got, and I'm gonna tell you what, it is a narrow gateway to get in today. It's a narrow gateway. I mean, it's like live, all this different bells and whistles and all that, but it's narrow, and you did a
Well,
good
it's
job.
like,
It's got to be easy. All you did is click, and you were on, right? Were you
no,
surprised?
No.
absolutely not. No, it's like what April was saying. I was trying it first on the phone, did that for a long time, and it froze all of that. And then I came to the computer, it froze my computer system, so I had to shut everything down and restart. Finally, then I had to change all my permissions and everything to get the camera and such going. So anyway, but yeah, first time you do something is always tough. And so this is my first time to live stream. So but I got through it. Oh my word, I look so bad. I need to go put my makeup on.
Hey, we all do. It's been horrendous. We got through the holidays, and so I just want to like crawl in the bed and not come out for like a week.
Everybody's cutting in and out now. Are y'all having that kind of problem? No.
It's good. Everybody is looking good.
You're back now.
Yeah, I'm not sure the bandwidth is wide enough, Mary, to carry it. And so if there gets to be very many people, then all of a sudden somebody's got to go. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It comes and goes. No, I wasn't planning on doing anything today except just eating, sitting around the house, watching the ball game, which it took us a while to even find the Rose Bowl game, but finally did. So anyway, so here I am looking, looking like a dog, but yeah, I'm here.
You look lovely. You look lovely. I've got a private chat here. I don't know if anybody else has it available, but it's.
I see it.
Oh, you can?
Jessica.
Jessica has also had some problems signing in and out several times.
Yeah.
And she has a terrible sound.
Right.
So what's interesting, that private chat, I wonder which forum that must be a Restream thing.
Well, I don't know. It kept asking me if I wanted to private chat. And I sent you several comments, by the way. Did you ever see it?
We talked a little bit about the vaccine. You asked us about
vaccine. I completely missed all that. I guess that was whenever it froze up. But well, we've signed up. But when they're going to get another shipment, I don't know. Everybody seems to be out before you can even have time to get down there. It's like they start out with a few hundred vaccines and they're gone in just a flash.
Huh.
Yeah. So anyway, but they're just now getting to the 65 and over. So Clarence and I are signed up.
Is that like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that kind of thing?
Well, yeah, sort of, except I guess maybe here in Texas, they're calling them phases. Phase A was like nurses, doctors, first responders. Phase B will be the 65 and over. Not that I want to admit, of course, that I'm 65 or over, but we are by several years.
Yeah.
Several years.
There are several chats coming in. April was having some similar issues that you were having.
Right.
And let's see.
Jessica's in Canada.
Oh, how wonderful. Can she hear us at all? Jessica, can type us a note. Okay, good.
Well, Jessica, which forum are you watching us on? Or which platform? Well, Jessica, you know what? Thank you. Now, you know what? I'm about to discover a bunch. Hey, there we go. All right. Well, there's Jessica. You look lovely today. JB, Jessica. You feel free to click your video on if you want, but if you don't, that's okay too. You should be able to talk with us, Jessica. Okay, all right, so if she adds video, it crashes. What about your microphone?
Can you
Do have
hear
your
me?
microphone on? Yeah,
I just
of
tried
course we
adding it.
can.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay.
So
I'm just
you're
worried it's going
joining
to
us from
crash again.
Canada today, Jessica, right?
That's right. That's right. I'm in
Jessica?
Canada. Yes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you're very soft. And I know I have my mic closed, and I know I'm loudish, but you've got your
Let me just see.
Jessica,
Oh, I
did
see.
you
Okay. I see.
did you how did you hear about this Burleson group?
See a Facebook request for like a friendship request. And
Wonderful.
then I saw on your feed, I think there was something about this. So I thought, well, I'll sign in and see what it's like.
Okay, fantastic. Is this the were you able to join us on Thanksgiving or on Christmas?
No, this is the first time I've signed in, and I've been back
Okay.
and forth a couple times today already.
Oh, great. Well, you know, Jessica is one of the people, one of those Burlesons who are out there. They're some of us have just connected up just because we have the same last name, send friend requests. Oh, somebody instant connection, same last name. There's been a lot. I was telling Kate since Thanksgiving, I think I've had about 50 new Burleson Facebook friends. They're just from Facebook. And so these are just generic Burlesons that, you know, that type of thing. And so you're one of those, and it's not just you. There's a lot of others that just like you. And also there's some generic Facebook pages out there with a lot of Burlesons in them that don't necessarily seem to be organized in any way, but they, you know, what harm is it accepting a friend request with somebody? You know, you're saying we accept friend requests all the time on Facebook. But you're one of the Burlesons that is one of many. And I don't know if you knew this, Jessica, but did you know there's a Burleson Family Association in Texas? Like
I
a
did know
real
that years
501c3 nonprofit organization.
I was a member of that about 25 years ago.
Okay, 25 years ago. It's been around for a long time. Okay, so you know about the Burleson Family Association. Great. So you're one of the Burlesons on Facebook, just out there somewhere. You did know about the Burleson Family Association. A lot of those Burlesons that are out there that are just coming across generic on Facebook like that probably aren't even aware that there's a Burleson Family Association in Texas. So Kay's husband, Clarence, is the president of that, and they do family reunions or Burleson reunions in different parts of the country. And the last couple of times, I think COVID has gotten them this past year. But that's an active group that you can become a member of, pay a small membership fee just to get the newsletters and all that kind of stuff. And that way you kind of connect up. So it's something beyond Facebook for those generic Burlesons that just want to, or, you know, didn't realize, hey, there's just more than, it's deeper than just, you know, friending someone with your same last name on Facebook. Jessica, did you know that there's also a Burleson family research group in North Carolina?
That I didn't know, and my family is from North Carolina originally, so that would probably be a good one to find. Is that where do I find that?
It's Burleson Family Research Group, and they're on Facebook. And since we're now friends on Facebook, if you have a problem, let me know and I'll connect you directly. I'm not really necessarily throwing out my connections, like take me on my Facebook page or any of that bells and whistles. There's already 2 really large, substantial organizations, you know, but I'll definitely shoot you. If you can't find it, I'll definitely show you where they are on Facebook. but it's Burleson Family Research Group. And I think that is
Okay.
like $2 a year. And you've got all kinds of newsletters and research.
Okay.
Plus, they have a publishing arm. Have you seen all the different? Well, let me ask you another question, Jessica. Third question: are you aware that there's lots of Burleson books published out there about DNA Burlesons, all kinds of family books published and available on Amazon?
Yes and no. I mean, I haven't looked too much into it. I know the line that I come from, and it hasn't really been syncing up too much with the Texas Burlesons. So I sort of have deviated from some of the connections and gone more into others.
Yeah.
I'm not at all. Oh, so it was in North Carolina. I don't know if you have a numbering system or anything that you go by. And I was in touch with, I guess it was like years ago, the first member of Burleson Family Association. I have old letters that he sent me about the line that I came from. So I don't know if I can go back far enough that it links up with anybody else. Where are you guys all right now? Like, where are you from?
I'm from Texas.
Okay.
Mary's from Texas, and
Not yet.
Cindy.
My sound's really gone.
Okay, we can hear you really well, but I guess you
Yeah.
can't hear us. Okay. Cindy is lives in Nevada, originally from Mississippi.
Okay.
But if I have any part of your line, we can link you up.
Okay. So I haven't done a lot of work on Burleson in a few years. I was concentrating on some other lines for the last few years. But Yancey County, North Carolina is where a lot of it was. Yancey, and then before that would have been, I guess, Burke or Mitchell. Probably more Burke and Buncombe. And so that's what I know of Burleson. I'm not.
Okay.
I'm the only one doing research in our line.
Okay. Is Burleson your married name, or is that your maiden name?
I'm not married, and it's my only name.
Okay.
I just went back and got some of the books. I mean,
Nice.
they're substantial books. So there's also a publishing effort with Burlesons, and I believe April, who was on earlier, is writing a book, working on writing a book. So these are all available on Amazon. So if you're one of those the Burlesons out there just on Facebook without, and want to know how to get connected more to some of the research that other people have already done, there's, the 3 different ways. There's the Burleson Family Research Association and the Burleson Family Association in Texas, the Burleson Family Research Group in North Carolina, and the Burleson Heritage Publishing, which has several books available on Amazon. And here's the neat thing, Jessica, is even though, like you were saying, you're from different lines, they actually are all connected. They share board members, and in some ways, and they work together and find. I'm more interested in the ancient DNA, antiquity type things, but in general, everybody, works together.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for the information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's someone. Hi, I'm a proud member of a huge community for streamers.
Yeah, I think that's an advertisement.
Well,
Yeah.
you know what? Hey, welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cindy, may I ask, is there a reason that you don't like Zoom anymore?
I think we've experimented with a lot of different
Okay.
formats. Thanksgiving, we did Zoom and Restream, but our Restream video didn't work. And
yeah, I'm finding, I gotta say, like, I'm finding this very sort of clunky in comparison to the way I've seen some of the Zoom. I mean, I'm on Zoom a lot, so I guess I know it a little bit better, but I know I'd be able to fix the audio if there were a problem if we were on Zoom, but it's kind of, maybe another time.
yeah, and I think also we've just been doing these live streams and this get together virtually just because of the pandemic, and that's all. And
Right.
as a matter of fact, it was just the we had our Christmas cards done this year. You know, we do our little Christmas cards, and we knew it was going to be virtual, or we really weren't going to be able to get together for Christmas. So anyway, we said, well, we'll just try this Zoom thing. And we did, on one side we put our Christmas cards, and the other side we put Thanksgiving. Right. And so we tried it out on Thanksgiving. We didn't say much about what we were doing. As a matter of fact, these hadn't even gone out to anybody at that time, just word of mouth. And we had a great little Zoom session for Thanksgiving. And then Christmas, I think we were all getting kind of tired with the holidays and all of that kind of good stuff, but we totally did Zoom. We had a great theme. We did a Christmas star, and we had guests from the planetarium come in and talk with us. We just had a good meeting, but the whole Restream crashed, and it just was on Zoom. Yes. Hey, Clarence.
Hi there. How are y'all doing? I just thought I'd come in and see what's going on.
Well,
we have a great visitor from Canada, but she said when she asked her video, it crashes, which is what mine did that first time. Too, the whole system just froze up, and and April has not ever been able to get hers working. So we're just, but I think there are probably people in the live stream that are not participating here. Mm-hmm. They're just listening, as opposed to trying to actively participate here. Yeah.
I think you can do it through Messenger too, right? On Facebook, like you can do a Messenger group on Facebook that does video.
A Google group, Messenger group. Yeah. A lot of the different platforms now have come up with their own thing where you can do it.
Yeah.
For sure.
This is a huge battery drain. I'm just looking at the battery on here going, it's down to 18% now.
Whoops. Okay.
I'm not sure that was someone trying to say something.
No. That was my phone.
Oh, okay. Well,
it's not with my computer, so it was in a different part of it. Bye.
Y'all enjoy.
Okay. We should add at this junction too, and Kay, you might could add to this as well. We were going to talk about DNA as kind of just the progression of our conversations, but I don't think not everybody was ready or could meet at this particular time, so we just postponed it. And
I think a lot of people just had plans today, with family and Christmas activities or New Year activities, and just simply were not available to join,
Yeah. So whenever that does happen, I think that would be a really informative time for everybody. And so when everybody wanted to get together, we now have 3 different ways that we've gone about. We've done Zoom, we've done Restream, and we've done Zoom and Restream. And the thing about, well, anyway, we can decide and triangulate and see which ones everybody likes better. And then when the DNA experts, and I'm just going to call that, I'm going to call Dr. Cisco, I'm going to call Denise, and I'm going to call Paula, and everybody, all that group, DNA experts, because they've done a lot of research. When they're ready to get together, then, you know, everybody can talk amongst themselves what format they like best. I think whatever format they go with, I think that a lot of people would like to hear what is said, but would like to do it in the aftermath on a video format when they can get to it, when it's convenient for them.
Well, that's probably true. And now, for those of people that are listening, and maybe they don't quite understand what you were discussing, Dr. Cisco is our DNA specialist, so to speak, who handles the Burleson project on family tree DNA. That is for the male line of Burlesons only. It is the Y DNA. And so that was what he was saying. You know, several of the fellows have done their Y DNA, and they've already become a part of that project and study. Then we have a couple that have done it recently. And because of the huge mass of people that are doing DNA right now, the companies are running behind. Plus, they don't have as many employees and such as they did at one time. They've all had to curtail because they've had financial difficulties as well as everybody else. So anyway, what Paul was saying, or Dr. Cisco, what he was saying is that he'd like to wait until he has a little bit more of their stuff in, or has their results in, and then he can compile all of that, and the information would be as current as he could get it. But that's for the male line only. Now, I also mentioned to you before that he is an expert in mitochondrial DNA, which is the female DNA form. And so I'm sure that whenever he talks, he will be glad to tell us all more about mitochondrial DNA than we could possibly ever want to know, right? But one nice thing about listening to Paul, and I've heard him several times now, is that he does put it on a level where even basic people can understand, and rather than he doesn't talk down to you like a lot of college professors do, right? He puts it on a level that your basic layperson can understand, and that's nice. That's nice. And he's entertaining too. He's entertaining to listen to. So y'all will enjoy him whenever he gets his stuff together and he's able to join in. Now, the other ladies that we have, and that's Denise Sproed. It's Sproed. Okay. The Tracy, I think that Mary helped me out here. Her last name is like Shrode, right? Shrode, I think. Right. So they sound very similar, but they're 2 different names, and not other than being Burleson, not related. But anyway, Denise is very clearly a DNA and genealogy expert. Paula Denson is the editor for the Burleson Family Association, and she is quite versed as well in genealogy research and DNA, particularly the use of what's called chromosome painting. That is kind of her specialty that she's really gotten into. So they both really need to be around as far as discussing any serious Burleson family DNA. And they also, Denise heads up our, maybe head up it's a joint effort, but we have a Burleson family research group that, or DNA group that handles, they have a couple of different DNA projects going now, which can be joined by men or women. They're using the autosomal results.
Oh, good.
For that. That's the one that where they're asking please upload your DNA, just your regular DNA results up to the GEDmatch so that they can put those together into chromosome matches as well. So anyway, and more people are joining that. I mean, I forgot now how many they have. I think it's about 80 that have uploaded those. And so anyone that's listening out there, you know, if you have done your DNA and you have your results, please go to my website, which is burlesonfamilyassociation.org. And on the DNA page there, you'll find all the instructions on how to upload and join the DNA, the various projects for DNA. Okay.
Yeah, and that's I'm at the stage. I'm waiting for my DNA, my second test to come back. So you know, I want to find out. You know, well, anyway, I hadn't had time. My results are still out there in the. I'm waiting for them. That stage. So, and it sounded like there was some others that were waiting on too. So, when the time is right, you know.
Yeah. Everybody can get together. We have a number of really good genealogists, of course, with these organizations, and that have done so much research and devoted so much time to this. And that was, I was telling Jessica, and I think she's maybe signed off now, but you know, if you could just give us a few of your ancestors, we'll find you. just give us a link. Just give us somebody, you know, to start with. I had a young man on Facebook, in my Facebook page for Burleson Family Association, been really active recently with people sending in their lineage and asking questions. And Mary, I have some questions for you too from what you said earlier. But anyway, moving on. And I had this young man, and so he wanted to know about, well, you know, it's always like they've done some research and they've hit that brick wall. You know, I can't get any further than this. You know, well, now we have him all the way back to Edward Burleson, who was the first Burleson that we know of who set foot on American soil in the colonies, and that had either a grandson or great grandson was the one that actually went to North Carolina and began that whole southern line. And we are working on doing DNA now to confirm that we have a link, a true DNA link between the southern branches of the Burlesons and the northern branches of the Burlesons. And that is with the help of Perry Streeter, who is an eminent researcher and genealogist up in the Northeast. I believe he lives in Connecticut. And so he is going to locate us some people up there who would like to do that Y-DNA test and establish that link definitely, rather than just, yeah, we know this guy moved here and he bought this land here. Well, I actually had a King's grant. And, you know, it goes back to what Mary was saying about being sure your information is correct. And, you know, when you study genealogy, one of the things that they always say is, if it's not documented, it's not real. If it's not documented, you didn't really research it, you know. So that's something you have to kind of always look for. It's always nice when somebody tells you family stories, but if they have no documentation, no proof of any kind, then it is just that. It's a family story, and it may or may not hold water. So
that was not what I enjoyed about my Mississippi family and Ed Burleson coming down into Mississippi was why am I saying Ed Burleson? David Burleson coming down into Mississippi, because it's history and it's documented. And when I always told the story, and then I'm reading the story from the other side, and I went, oh my gosh, that's this story. And so that's always cool.
Yeah, he was an, I want to be sure we're talking about the same one. Now, he was the one that originally married the Castle lady in North Carolina. They moved, came down through Alabama. She passed away. And he wound up marrying an Elizabeth Brannon. And I believe she's the one that went to Mississippi with him from Alabama. And they had another, altogether, I don't even know how many children the man had, about 20, I think, at least. And so there's a big lineage there.
I was doing Ursula Weatherford.
Oh, okay. Okay. Whole different David.
Back to
Whole
her.
different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
And my son is actually named Jonathan, and he was going to be Jonathan Burleson Strickland. And they told me it was too long for the birth certificate, which was kind of offensive to me, but it was always a big deal. So he didn't get that. You know, it's interesting though, you get in and you talk to people and you figure out their problem and you tell them what it is, and sometimes they're quite offended that their story's not true. On Roots Web, I think years ago, we had some people and they wanted a grave dug up because the grave said Tow, T-O-W, and it had a date on it. And I kept going back and forth, and I went and looked by date, and I found the date. It was the stillborn twins. It should have said 2. And that Burleson family group quit talking to me. So that was the end of that. I went, oh, okay. But I gave them the answer to their problem, and it was just the way they were looking at it. So anyway, that's been 20 years ago. That's just funny.
People, they're offended. You know,
yeah, they are, because they want those people out of their grave.
I know that's fine, and you know, maybe it was, and maybe it wasn't. You know, but anyway, it's interesting. But I wanted to ask you now. You referred to the Edward Burleson that came to Texas. Are you talking about General Ed, or are you talking about a different one?
Ed.
Okay. Okay.
In San Antonio.
Yes. Oh, yes.
Okay. You know, right there by La Valita, there is a monument, a state historical monument that says, at this spot on this date, General Ed Burleson kicked Santa Anna's brother out of the Alamo, and that's where all this started. And my kids are like, you got it. Living in League City, that's where we took all the 7th grade school kids and 4th graders, was to San Jacinto. And my kids could do the tours. So it's always fun. If you ever have a chance to go to San Jacinto. Oh, did you go for the day? They have 2 ceremonies. They have one on a weekend and one for the family. And I would pull up and tell them I was a family member. You don't remember what?
Yeah. I said, I don't remember any kind of a ceremony. I wasn't married to a Burleson at that time. You know, I married into the Burleson.
Different days. One on the actual day, on the weekend when they did the reenactment. And so, unfortunately, that's when the state of Texas chose a date to give the state test, and we couldn't be there on the family day, which is why for a long time I couldn't do the reunion, because I was teaching school, and in July it was really too hot, but I couldn't do it during school. So anyway, got a long history there.
I know the day that I talked to you quite some time back, I talked to you on the phone, very first time, and I said, we're going to bring the reunion back to Texas in, well, at that time would have been 2021, but not now. It'd be 2022.
Not now.
And you said something like, oh, thank heavens, or thank goodness, or thank God, or thank something. And you sounded so relieved, and you were so happy to know that we'd be coming back to Texas. And we will, but it'll be 22.
Yeah, and JB said the other day that I was there in 2015. I wasn't. I was there in 2000. You remember you told me we were in Bastrop in 2000, and that's when I was there.
Oh, okay.
And,
Okay.
you know, that goes back to us trying to work on cemeteries, and I'm not having much luck with the State Historical Commission, but I'm going to be on that. I have just requested that everybody just feed everything for Falls County on cemeteries through me, because we've got to start taking care of things. So I'm going to include the Burleson Cemetery in
Right.
that. And
Right.
you know that that cemetery up on top of the hill that was in such bad shape has all been cleaned up, and I was thrilled to death to see those pictures. So
You're not talking about the Blakey Burleson. You're talking about
the one in front of that trailer or something. You remember?
well, see, that's the Blakey Burleson. It was Burleson, but it was Blakey Family Cemetery, and Jonathan Burleson married Nancy Blakey.
Oh, well, it's got like 16 little graves in it.
It's
16.
it's right.
It's up on top of a hill.
It's in Bastrop.
This one's outside of Smithville,
Oh, okay.
up on a hill. Yeah, different one. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, when you put that on Facebook, or when Javier Flores had done those beautiful pictures, and I put them on Facebook, and somebody had a conversation about going and cleaning up that cemetery, and I was thinking maybe it might have been Amy, but maybe not. But it was somebody that lives kind of in that area, because they were saying, well, that's just not very far from my house, and they were going to go and take their weed eater and wear their boots for the snakes and all that kind of stuff. Were you part of that conversation?
No, it may have been Amy though.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, somebody. So they were going to go and do some work, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Absolutely. The condition of some of these private cemeteries, or these cemeteries that are now on private land, I should say, is pitiful, really. And not just our family cemetery. No, I say the Burleson family cemeteries, but a lot of them. I know that.
Tracy said that it was Amy because Amy sent her pictures.
Okay. Okay. I was thinking it was maybe one of those girls.
You know, that was a wonderful day when we were in town at the cemetery, and anybody who missed it, there we were, and we were walking around Burleson graves, and they're telling how the only Black buried inside the fence is the Burleson housekeeper. And they insisted that she be buried because she's family. Mm-hmm. And they were saying where her husband's buried, because there's a Mexican cemetery and there's a white cemetery. And I went and walked the edge of the cemetery, found the grave of the Blacks outside, and they were soldiers. They had flags on their graves. And so there was supposed to be a cleanup project after that. And that was July, and I haven't been back. But there's
I think you
so
did have
much.
a successful, when you were working specifically with a cemetery that was needing attention, that happened to it was a Black cemetery that you successfully had some successes there. Yeah.
I'm working with the Hopewell Cemetery, which is a freedmen's colony. And we will be cleaning up. We were supposed to clean up in December and do the ground seeking radar stuff in January, and everything kind of came to a halt. And so we're meeting again the third week of January. Tracy just said there's a Burleson Cemetery in Leon County on private property, and she found the owners and will be able to go to it when and if it warms up. Tracy, I would be glad to go with you.
Sure.
She's in Jewett, Texas, and I'm in Stranger, which is 35 miles, 40 miles. That's not a big deal, but I'd be glad to go with Tracy.
Well, isn't Leon County more over in East Texas?
No, well, Leon is right there with Limestone County.
Right.
So it's not really East Texas. It's right there with us.
Okay. All right.
Well, you know, Mary.
Go too.
to go back to what you were saying with the cemetery that you were working with, and then it got halted somehow. I'm just going to throw this out here real quick, and maybe we should move forward, but like the end of our stream kind of thing. But with the Black Lives Matter movement going on now, you would think that you would have all the support that you needed for whatever endeavor you were doing with that cemetery. And just from the calls that we've been doing, I can tell that there's a lot of Burlesons who are really into cemetery preservation. So it sounds like you might have a lot of support and strong muscles and to help you in your advocacies as well. So it sounds like maybe 2021 will be a good year for you as you move forward in all your endeavors that you're doing with cemetery preservation.
Well, JB's doing it and Amy's doing it. And so just from one phone call to Kay, we turned out we're doing a good job.
Working on it anyway.
We're trying.
Just not a Burleson thing, a personal thing. You mentioned earlier that your family goes back to Germany.
I'm losing you again.
Oh, okay. Cindy, maybe you can translate for me if she can't hear what I'm saying.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier that your family goes back to Germany.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
I'm a Grunwald, Grunewald.
Okay. Well, if you ever decide that if this mess is ever over, if you ever decide you're up on a trip to Germany, let me know, because that's somewhere that I would really like to go and dig up some of mine, not literally, but
So where are your Cobbs from in Texas?
Calipena County and East Texas. They came in.
I lost her again.
She's from California County and East Texas.
Oh. Well, in Stranger, we have a large Cobb plantation. The oldest house in this county was built by Cobbs.
Where is that?
Stranger, Texas.
In Stranger.
Stranger is in Falls County.
Okay.
They go to church with me, so.
Okay. No, whenever the Cobbs first came into Texas, my branch, they came from, they came down from Virginia, but they came to Tennessee and then to East Texas, to Jacksonville area in East Texas. And then they kind of moved on across to Palapinto County, which is like Mineral Wells, north central Texas, west of Weatherford, where I live, and Fort Worth, west of Fort Worth. So that was it. They were part of the original Cobbs who came to Jamestown, actually, whenever they came to the United States. My branch. Some also came to the colonies, but they were not mine.
I wish we could all get together in a room and see what everybody has, because we're going to connect some other with names other than just Burleson. That would be interesting.
Oh, yeah. Right. Definitely.
So,
well, that's why I always encourage these men to research the female lines.
Oh, yeah.
And I always tell them, my husband and JD, I've always gotten on him, and so that's what got him going on his female lines. Actually, I said, guys, you would not be here if it was not for the woman. It is not all about just being named Burleson after your father. That was just part of it. So you need to give these ladies their due as well.
In this case, my kiddo being named Burleson after his mom. His mom's name.
Yeah,
that's true. Well, and all this talk, I just realized Ross's Burleson line comes through his grandmother. Duh.
Sure. So
weird.
Yeah. So he's not going to have that male Burleson.
No, it didn't. But he's once again that General Ed long face look. I mean, you can.
Yeah, my husband heard you say large noses earlier.
Yeah,
very offended. Very offended. Yeah.
Yeah, Greek noses almost.
Now,
A lot of them do have big
the Burlesons that I know have huge noses. When I was born, it was like I was all nose, they said. And I'm seeing a much slenderer nose in a lot of the photos that I'm seeing, but I come from the big nose Burlesons. That's what we are. Ladies, is it okay with you and those listening if we kind of bring this to a close today for kind of for fun, and in doing that, go ahead and send your comments in. I see some comments coming in, and we'll kind of make sure everybody's got their questions in. Let's see, Mary, do you want to read what Tracy has here or the comments?
I'll read it. My last Burleson was Eliza M.J. Burleson. She was married 3 or 4 times. I'm from her and Archibald Gunn.
Okay. So see, there's another one from a female Burleson.
That's right.
Yeah, may not have been a male Burleson in there anywhere.
And more comments about getting together. Wish we could get together. That's but the virtually. I want to take a minute to thank you both. Thank everybody that's out there. I mean, Kay, wow. I mean, I remember us talking at Thanksgiving, and it was, computers all over the place trying to see which ones worked. And we've come such a long way in such a short amount of time. We've tried so many different things, and we've just tried them just for fun, and we've just had a good time together. And I just appreciate you as a person, as an individual who's just really been fun to do all this virtualness with. I've enjoyed it. Well, I have great respect for what you all have been doing through the years, and what you.
Amy said that she's been to Rogers Hill Cemetery, and that may be the one that I'm talking about. And she said that her husband and family share a cousin. So she may have some interesting lineage there too.
Well, y'all know that Clarence and I are cousins. I mean, I think I've said that several times. Yeah. Not on the Burleson side, but I do actually have some Burleson DNA matches.
I think I remember you saying, though, that you were 17 times removed. Is that right?
No, we're 11th cousins.
Oh, well, that's still a big number.
Wow.
We're not cousins. It's all good.
On his mother's side and on my father's side, if you can believe that. And they go back and join up in England with a family named Sawyer.
Wow.
Yeah, who I had never heard of until I found this match. So anyway, you just never know who you're going to be related to.
They say if you put me in a room with 6 people, I'll be related to 3 of them in a few minutes. So, history's a story.
It is. And, I asked, I think whenever we had one of the others, there's an old saying about we're all related within 7 generations or something like that. And at that time, everybody was like, well, I haven't heard of that, But that's kind of what you're saying, Mary. Are you saying that you just will get to know them so well that you'll be related to them?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the year on when did you get to Texas? And Texas History did it, but I included it in my students' autobiographies. And I would look at kids and I go, I know you got here from Delaware 3 days ago, but what about, and people would come in and say, my great was President Monroe. And I go, no. And they go, yeah. I go, how do you know that? My dad said so. I said, well, go back and tell your dad that the English teacher said no. And they come in the next morning and they said, my dad said, you're right. Because President Monroe and his wife didn't have children. His brother's children lived in the White House. And I knew that because someone who was related to my husband on the mother's side said that her family was, and I went, no, you're not. We did all kinds of research. But, you make all kinds of connections. My best friend's great whatever was the treasurer of the Republic of the Texas when Ed Burleson was the vice president. And we're sitting there going, we're talking about the same thing again. It's amazing how it all clicks. And kids hated, oh man, we're going to have to do this. And I would go, oh, well, let me tell you, my husband's family. And they go, oh, wow. So it's a story. They make it boring.
Yeah. Well, Cindy commented too, or somebody did, about how many of the Burlesons were teachers.
Yes.
And of course, now, Mary, you and I are not actually Burlesons, but
No.
we were both teachers. Cindy's a teacher. April's a teacher. And I know several others are, but I don't know about Tracy or Amy. I don't think, no, Amy wasn't a teacher. I don't know about Tracy. A lot of teachers in the family are mixed into the family as well.
Well, look at Rufus. I mean,
sure.
I mean, going back, that they were educated people.
Right.
And there were so many that weren't educated. And they just continued and made a big deal out of their education. So,
yeah, well, he and his wife both were highly educated, but like you say, and especially not during that time frame, you didn't have that many people that probably went past about the elementary at the most, you know. But
my family was Thompson, so they were preachers.
Well,
they got kicked out of England in 1640, and they continued to be preachers. So it's kind of weird.
Well, that first Burleson that came over was a Puritan. And
Tracy said she was a nurse, but retired and volunteered full-time at our school. But the theater group, how cool.
Right, I teach
yeah.
You know, and you say the Burlesons were educators and all that, and that's nice that we're saying that. But if we looked at it a little bit broader, I mean, it's the women is what, I mean, she just said she volunteered at the school.
That's right.
After her career or after being a nurse. And my grandmother, Catherine Burleson in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, she volunteered, or either she worked or volunteered. She's in the school cafeteria. Because as women, and
it's all education.
Well, as a woman, I did something. I was mid-career when I got pregnant, you know, and I did government work and some paralegal stuff, and had a different career before I got pregnant. And when I became pregnant, I mean, I'm so thankful for being able to be in the school system and contributing as an educator, because I mean, as you know, being with your kids and with, you know, it's a wonderful place to be. And I think that's testament to being a woman and being an educator. You know, I think that we gravitate into education as women. And
and Amy said she was a caregiver.
Right.
Yeah. Right. Strong women.
I know.
Hey, it's almost an hour that we've been going, and we definitely don't have to go 3 hours this time. We've been going 3 hours for the time zones with the Zoom thing, but this is just a casual Happy New Year's thing. Yeah. So it's almost an hour. So is it okay with you all if we kind of just bring it to a close and it'll be a short video? And then another comment. I had to retire to raise my kids, as my husband had to go out of town to work. Again, we women, we step up to the plate and we're strong and we do what we have to do, right?
Yeah.
So,
absolutely. And when you get to be mine and Mary's age, you look back and you go, how did I ever do all that?
I don't know.
You know, how did you have a career and have your own family and your husband and your home and everything else you might have owned, you know, and how did we ever do it? I don't know. I couldn't do half of that now.
Me either.
But,
I'm completely content that things are slowing down. You don't have to do.
Which is why I want my genealogy to be right.
yeah. Well, and I enjoy being retired. I do. I do. I'm grateful, especially when we have nasty weather like this. I'm thinking, I'm so glad I don't have to get up and try to drive to work in this, you know?
Yeah.
Nasty weather and COVID.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, God bless the teachers that are trying to teach through this.
Oh,
Yeah.
Through, absolutely. Well, I have enjoyed it, ladies. I've enjoyed it very much. It was nice. Just it was kind of like we were just sitting and having a chat with each other. I don't know who else was listening. We probably bored them to tears, whoever they were. But you know, well, thank you, Tracy. I'm glad you could listen.
Amy, you too.
Yes. So with
And,
us.
and thank you, Kate. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for being here. And I've enjoyed the whole
See y'all
holiday season.
soon.
Yeah.
And we'll get together when it's right, in whatever format and whatever time frame. Whenever anybody's ready, we know each other now, so everything is good in that regard.
Happy New Year.
Say again.
Bye, guys.
All right. I'm going to if I'm going to go ahead, Kay, and everybody here, I'm going to kind of close a few windows here. And just because at the beginning of the video, we were talking about the awesome scientific discoveries of 2020, leaving on a positive note, I want to make sure you know what the other ones were. And I'll just skim through them real quick. We only had time to cover the first one, which was the oldest material found on Earth is more ancient than our solar system. And we talked about that. The second, the number 2 scientific discovery of 2020, the first Tyrannosaurus embryos are discovered. And that has DNA implications, by the way. But moving on to number 3, Mars is humming, and scientists aren't sure why. Number 4, mysteries of the star Betelgeuse, strange behavior finally solved. Then number 5, stunning details of an armored dinosaur's last meal. Lovely, lovely. That also has DNA implications. Number 6, the second largest Ebola outbreak is finally over. And this was the Kivu outbreak that began in August of 2018. So it came to an end in 2020. And number 7, the oldest Homo erectus skull was found. Number 8, hints of the first dinosaur DNA, more DNA discoveries. Number 9, surprise cave discoveries may push back people's arrival in the Americas. Saying that people arrived here as early as 30,000 years ago in America, in the Americas. Number 10, a reef taller than the Empire State Building was found in what looks like to be Australia, as they were mapping the northern Great Barrier Reef seafloor when they stumbled across a huge towering skyscraper of coral. All right, well, that's just a few of the discoveries in 2020. I just wanted to make sure that we left each other on a positive note. And again, I just want to thank everybody. Thank you all. Thank you all, you Burlesons. It's been fun. And wish you the best in the new year. And
Bye.
best of luck. New year. Take care.